everybody. Welcome to another wonderful and lovely IncGamers podcast. Probably wonderful and lovely anyway. Tim, you said you weren't going to insult anyone this week. Are you going to stick by this promise?
Shit. I'll try.
No. Okay, good enough. Paul Younger, hello.
Hello.
Going to insult anyone this week?
Yeah, probably.
Alright, good. I'm Peter Parrish. I'll try to insult people as well. We had some correspondence this week. It wasn't really podcast correspondence, but it was sent to the editor at IncGamers.com email address, so I'm appropriating it as podcast correspondence. It was from user Laserbeak, who said that he'd been using Steam's streaming service now that it's in open beta, and that it was very good. And I think, oddly enough, Tim, you've also been using Steam's in-home streaming as well, a bit. Has it also been alright for you?
Yeah, it was really, really easy to do. It was just a case of sort of installing the Steam beta client on both machines and then running it on the client machine. That was it.
Yeah.
It's incredibly simple. And yeah, even running it over wireless, it seemed mostly okay. I mean, it wasn't exactly flawless, but barring a couple of little glitches every now and then, it really kind of was. You know, there wasn't any noticeable lag when moving around or anything like that.
I need to try it again, because I tried it a few months ago, but it's been sort of updated and stuff since then, and obviously they think it's good enough to be open beta now, so I should have a look at that again, really, and see if it's got better. It probably has.
It was quite nice. It meant, I just streamed Dark Souls 2 over to the TV, so 60 frames a second, 1080p, looked lovely, on a big TV. Yeah.
Very good.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, I tried Sleeping Dogs, and it was chugging along at about 30 frames per second, but it wasn't managing 60 at the time. But I also have quite an old laptop, so that probably was the reason.
It might do. I mean, they do say that the laptop kind of needs to be able to decode video at a certain rate and so on.
Yeah.
I might try Sleeping Dogs after. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a good game.
It is.
Anyway, the news this week, there's a big old, not quite legal handbag fight developing between ZeniMax Media and Oculus Rift over, guess what, money, hooray!
Yay!
Is there any other kind of legal fight other than ones over money? When it comes to
criminal cases, I suppose.
Well, lots of criminal cases are about money as well.
Yeah,
I mean, between big corporations, anyway.
Yeah, usually. So ZeniMax's beef is that while John Carmack was a ZeniMax employee, he was doing a lot of promotional stuff for Oculus, and they think that includes actually developing code that he then sort of took over to Oculus. That ZeniMax is saying, well, that kind of belongs to us because you were working for us at the time. Oculus have kind of responded by going, nuh-uh, that's not true, screw you, ZeniMax, and denying all of that, basically, and also bringing up the interesting point, or claim anyway, that the Doom 3 VR edition was cancelled, basically because ZeniMax wanted some kind of equity stake in Oculus as a whole in return for doing that. So, yeah, there we go. Nothing to do with the fact that Oculus has a shitload of money now, obviously. Maybe a little bit to do with that.
So what they want to do then is buy John Carmack's brain.
What it all comes down to is whether the stuff that he was doing while he was working with ZeniMax, did that qualify as stuff he was doing on his own time? Does he have a contract that says anything you code while you work for us basically belongs to us? That kind of thing, which is a tricky situation and probably relies on what his contract says.
It's not a case of people wanting to buy John Carmack's brain, it's a people of laying claim to the fact that they owned John Carmack's brain during this period of time.
Yeah.
Although in the interests of not offending anyone, I think they're probably both right.
Just think, if we could clone people, they could have a copy of John Carmack, and then it would all be done.
Yep.
Here, have a copy.
Yep.
There you go.
But then
Bethesda can have one.
He'd probably get really bored with what he was doing over there, and then he'd quit and go over to Oculus again.
Then they'd have two Carmacks.
Let's have none.
Oh, double Carmack. Amazing. Imagine. Yeah, so this hasn't developed into anything sort of legal yet. It's just sort of lawyers sending letters to each other that keep ending up on media outlets as well. So I guess ZeniMax basically just wants some sort of payoff by the looks of things. Oculus don't seem like they're going to give them that, but you never know. They might do just to make them go away. Who knows? That's what usually happens in these cases. So that's that.
We won't hear anything about it because all of the court documents will be sealed if they make it. So all of this will just basically disappear with, problem solved.
Can we lay claim to his brain?
Did he ever work for IncGamers, Paul? Has John Carmack ever?
Maybe in my imagination.
Well, we have written about him, and there is a theory that public figures do belong to some extent to the public. So I think we've probably got some sort of claim.
Excellent.
Yeah, the video game industry as a whole, video games own John Carmack.
The question is, though, do we have the financial backing to take on Facebook in the courts?
Yeah, probably.
I'll just check that, Tim. No.
Oh no! What? I'll chip in. I've got like maybe a couple of thousand. That'll go a long way, I'm sure.
Let's start this as a class action lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every gamer in the world to chip in sort of 20 quid.
Yep. All right, on to what is very wittily being called House of Cards, which is the new Call of Duty featuring House of Cards' own Kevin Spacey. We had correspondence about this as well. I'm so excited. We actually had like 2 things that are relevant this week. Someone on it was posted on Facebook actually when we put the story up on there. I think the sort of first trailer. Alex Harper says, "Wow, loyal to no country. Plot will involve PMCs. Hey guys, that Metal Gear Solid 5 game seems cool. Let's just do that." I think he means 4 though, doesn't he? Or
he may also mean 5. I don't know. I haven't played it. In fairness, that kind of relates to multiple Metal Gear Solid games, but 4 was the one which was all about PMCs taking over the war economy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it was a recurring theme throughout the series.
So this Call of Duty vaguely looked interesting for about 5 minutes when it had a sort of vaguely interesting teaser trailer, and it was going to have Kevin Spacey in it. And then, to me at least, it then just started looking like another Call of Duty, and I got a bit bored and depressed with it. Because I thought to begin with, oh wow, it's going to be, maybe you're going to like run a private military company and like you, Tim, sort of, I don't know, send them out on secret, covert war crime missions, allegedly war crime missions there. Blackwater was never convicted, folks. Not yet, anyway. The trial is ongoing.
Blackwater doesn't exist.
But no, it turns out... Sorry?
Blackwater doesn't exist anymore. They changed their name.
They did. They changed it twice, actually, such as their brand appeal. They had to run away from their name twice.
It's like War Z all over again.
But yeah, what this actually is that Kevin Spacey runs a PMC who decided that they want to attack America because that's a thing that could happen. And then I guess you're playing the people who want to stop that from happening. It's going to be like Call of Duty. Although it had a bit of sort of like vertical stuff as well, so I guess they've seen Titanfall and thought, oh, that looks good, let's put a bit of that in our Call of Duty.
The big deal here is, has it got dogs? If it's not got dogs, it's the only reason
but it does have Kevin Spacey, and I feel like I would take Kevin Spacey over dogs.
If it had Kevin Spacey's dog...
Maybe. Does he have a dog?
Does it have fish AI, though? Is Kevin Spacey controlled by fish AI?
Yeah.
Maybe. His eyes were looking a bit dead and fishy in the trailer, so maybe.
I thought the trailer looked smashing, and the game's probably going to be great.
I have to say, I like you, I'm completely uninterested in this. Completely uninterested. And it's because there's a bloody COD every year. And it doesn't matter if it's in World War One, World War Two...
I haven't actually seen World War One Call of Duty. That would be interesting.
That would be interesting. Wherever it is, it's just the same crap churned out for me.
There was a really lame rumour that it was going to be a World War One game that was posted up on one of these sites where basically anyone can sign up for the site and write for them. And the person had written, "Oh, it's Call of Duty. It's going to be World War One," and then a bunch of really professional video games websites repeated that rumour as truth. because they're idiots.
I'm sure they were just trying to do their job. It was a very busy day, you know. They just didn't have time to check the facts. You can hardly blame them for that.
Yeah. Damn, Tim, you're quite good at this. Keeping on the right side of people, malarkey. It's very good. Yeah, and you're right. Call of Duty, I'm sure, is going to be very successful and blah 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 blah, and probably quite shit on PC, just like the last one was. But there we go.
Yeah, maybe it might be good on PC. Has one of the Call of Duty games actually, been good on PC? Because I haven't really played the series on PC much, other than Ghosts.
I've only played Ghosts, and it was crap. So I have a sample size of 1. I'm going to say no. None of the rest are any good.
I remember.
They might be. I honestly don't know.
I think Black Ops was a bit broken as well.
Oh, don't talk about Black Ops. Get stuck in that fucking wardrobe within the first 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, there we go. First-hand account of the fact that it was a bit broken.
Yeah, literally within 2 minutes I was stuck in a wardrobe. It really, really was sad.
It's like Outlast, but unintentional.
I really, really wish that I hadn't said that I wasn't going to offend anybody, because there's so much that I could... No, everything is fine, everything is lovely. Carry on.
Well, hey, here's another story that you can probably be just positive about, which is that Night Dive Studios, the people who somehow managed to bring back System Shock 2 from whatever licensing spider web it was caught up in previously, are now trying to do No One Lives Forever and sequels as well. They have trademarked Nolf and The Operative and various other related terms, which doesn't mean that they're like about to release it any minute or anything, but does suggest that they are trying to get it out of the very odd situation that it's in, where you would think Activision would own it, but they actually don't. And then you might think, oh, maybe Monolith own it, but no, they don't either. So no one really seems to know who owns No One Lives Forever. But Night Dive are.
It's really weird, actually. It's really weird because I was thinking about 5 days before this was announced. I don't know why, but I was thinking about whatever happened to that, because it's like Austin Powers does Shooter.
Yes. And she's called Kate Archer as well, before Archer became a secret agent related term. So that's kind of interesting as well. Yeah, no, I haven't played these, but by all accounts they are much beloved, and people always want to see them back on like GOG and Steam and wherever else. So yeah.
I have played them, but I can't even remember. It's been that long ago.
Yeah, they're quite old, aren't they? Classics.
I'm on Rise of Nations. Why hasn't anybody sorted out the Rise of Nations licensing stuff yet?
Who made and who produced those?
I can't remember. I'll find out. I'll go and have a look. See.
I'm kind of intrigued by who Night Dive Studios are. I mean, it kind of seems like they're just lawyers who like games from the 1990s, because I don't really see what other type of person could do what they're doing currently.
Rise of Nations was published by Microsoft, but it was developed by Big Huge Games.
That's right.
Who got acquired by THQ and then acquired by 38 Studios.
Jesus.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh
That's
dear.
like
Dear.
Double bankruptcy horror. Oh man, they could be owned by anyone now. They're probably owned by like Rhode Island.
I have a theory actually that Night Dive Studios aren't actually sorting out the licensing for these games. They're just claiming they've sorted out the licensing, because for anyone to disprove them, they would have to do an awful lot of legwork.
So they're just publishing them and hoping for the best.
Yeah, if anyone goes, no, we own the rights. If anyone goes, no, we own the rights, you can go, well, clearly you don't because of this, this, and this. Go away.
Prove it. And then if they do prove it, they can go, oh, so it's you that owns the rights. Can we buy the rights off you, please? Yeah, that's confusing stuff. Video game licensing. So what else? Oh, well, Paul, you attracted my attention to kind of an interesting, cautionary perhaps tale to do with crowdfunded MMO Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, which was unsuccessful in its Kickstarter attempt to raise like $800,000. It then took to its own website in a sort of Star Citizen-esque fashion to try and raise money just through its own site, and raised about 150,000. It has since emerged that Mr. Brad McQuaid of EverQuest and Vanguard fame paid himself around $45,000 of that money as sort of 3 months advance salary, which to me says that he thinks he should be paid $180,000 annually to develop an MMO that has only raised $150,000 in total, which, budgetarily speaking, is that a word? I don't know, doesn't really add up. So this is kind of a warning to maybe not just give money to people, even if they're industry veterans, because sometimes they don't seem to use it very well.
This is kind of a weird one. That, like, all the stuff when the Kickstarter launched, all the stuff on it was like, oh, we're going to take it back to traditional MMO and all this kind of sort of MMO speak that everyone, the old school MMO players, would sort of attach themselves onto and go, oh, this sounds brilliant. But Vanguard really didn't do well at all.
No,
regardless,
he didn't mention his attachment to Vanguard in any of the Kickstarter materials. It was only EverQuest, oddly enough.
And it's all very well saying, oh, I created EverQuest, but that's a long time ago now, and man, has the MMO space changed. Really, how can you put a Kickstarter up for an MMO when you look at who you're actually going up against? There are people like Blizzard and so on that are pumping out content left, right, and centre continuously. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, for sort of under $1 million as well.
Yeah, I mean seriously.
There's a lot of games that you can make for $800,000, but I don't think an MMO is likely to be one of them, frankly. When it went to the website and it got 150,000, it's like, look, it's not going to happen, man. You're now in sort of expensive indie game territory.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the things on dare say I'm going to mention the word Star Citizen. Tim, don't forget your book.
Star Citizen is probably going to be fantastic. Well,
very good.
Very good, Tim. I really like your outlook this week. Very good. So positive.
That was a big test for you, that one, and you've overcome it with flying colours.
But if we look at that, where I don't know, was it
$500,000?
Was it like $500,000 or something they were looking for that, which was basically to put together a proof of concept, maybe pitching out to some publishers, whatever. But it smashed through that, and so they went, okay, well, sod the publishers, let's go and do it ourselves.
Yeah, that's the point where you go to your own website and go, all right, keep giving us money, because you've got all these people desperate to throw cash at you.
But then in the other case, you have what's that driving one that's out at the moment by Bugbear?
Next car game.
Yeah, I don't think that reached its Kickstarter, but they did take it to their website, and it did work out. So,
yeah, I mean they sort of had more to show. I think. I mean they at least had a sort of tech thing up and working, and were obviously pretty close to the thing that they released on Steam's early access. Which was a couple of tracks and the thing that you did a plays on, Paul. They had something to show for it. They had, look, we've got a driving model in place. We need to make some more tracks, obviously, but this is a thing that we can do. You have a bit of faith in that.
Well, I think with this, with Mr. McQuaid. So Mr. McQuaid sounds like a detective or something. McQuaid.
Mr. McQuaid. Brad McQuaid, private eye, taking funds from his MMO Kickstarter.
but I think he's going to have problems. Really, his reputation hasn't been fantastic in more recent times. This probably is really not going to help.
I mean, I don't know. I slightly sympathise. Some of this came from a Facebook post that he put up, which since got deleted, that kind of said, we had financial troubles, we needed to take some of this money to kind of get through the next few months and stuff. It's okay, I get that, but that kind of suggests your project isn't viable. Maybe you should have just given that money back to people and not taken like a third of those funds. I'm not suggesting there's anything illegal happened here, because he's not a corporation. He was given this money by people and he's using it. people are probably going to be upset at the way he's used it, but yeah. It's a bad situation all around, because the people who wanted that MMO aren't going to get it. He's not going to make that MMO, and now he's in hot water with all these people. So it's not being particularly widely reported, which is a bit weird. The stuff today that's been written about Pantheon is that they're going to try and finish it with volunteers and stuff. And this is just another stage where you think, so you're now going to make this MMO with completely unpaid volunteers. That again doesn't seem like a very likely state of affairs. There we go. That's that. What else? CCP are making Project Legion on PC, which is, to me, sounding quite a lot like Dust 514, is it? Their PS3 shooter. Paul, I think you wrote about this one. I didn't know much about it.
Yeah, it's kind of this was at their EVE Fan Fest. They did another reveal this year, and they did EVE Valkyrie last year. This is it's not a reboot of 514. They've kind of taken stuff that they've learned from Dust 514 and are creating a brand new game for the PC. Obviously, with the PS3 now slowly starting to slip into obscurity with the PS4.
To the past.
Yeah, they kind of I don't know how it's going to really work out for Dust 514. So I think they're kind of realizing, hey, the PC market's doing pretty well. We're doing EVE Valkyrie. EVE's doing, got its core user base. Let's create a shooter in the EVE universe for PC gamers, and this is what they've come up with. It's really, really early in development. They did show some of the footage. It's using the Unreal 4 engine, and it does look quite nice, but you can't really make out anything really from what they've shown. It's really difficult, but basically you will choose missions, PvP or PvE and so on, and via this galactic star map, and you'll go off and do them. They're emphasising that it's quite a social thing, and you work with other people and so on. Very much like EVE, taking everything they've learned from EVE. Does look interesting, but I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what comes up in the next sort of couple of months or so.
Yeah, that's Unreal 4 engine, is it?
It is indeed, I do believe.
Oh, it should be quite pretty as well, and it sounds like a very clever, innovative idea.
Yeah,
and everybody
it just sounds insincere now, Tim.
Everybody really seems to like games with sort of heavy multiplayer focus. So
it just kind of reminded me, like looking at the star map thing, kind of remind me a little bit of Warframe, a little bit. But
that's done very well, and that actually is a properly good game from what I played of it.
It's free to play as well, apparently. So apparently they got some EA guy or something now works. I can't remember his name, but he did a lot of the free to play stuff at EA. So I think he's convinced them that this is the way forward, man. Free to play, man.
Yeah.
I just realised I've been very rude. Would anyone like a grape?
No, it's alright. I don't want a grape.
No, I'm fine.
Put your grapes away.
Thanks, I have an issue with the Unreal 4 engine based on what I played of it in Daylight, which is like the only Unreal Engine 4 game out at the moment. So maybe this isn't the greatest of tests, but they have this effect in it called chromatic aberration, I think. Now, I thought my eyes were fucked for the longest time, because chromatic aberration apparently is just making everything really fucking blurry. And if every Unreal Engine 4 game is going to do this, it's going to really piss me off, because I hate that effect. I despise it. It's worse than Bloom. It really is.
It's going to be the new Bloom. It's going to turn up in every game, even when it has absolutely no basis for it.
I don't understand what it's...
You can't really blame developers for that, because when they get this shiny new technology, they want to use it. So
is it effectively? Could I effectively go down to my local pharmacist and get a tub of Vaseline and just spread it all over my screen? And I don't have Unreal 4.
Pretty much.
Well, I think you can Unreal 4ify your games by just taking your glasses off.
Yeah, okay.
Honestly.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't understand what that effect is for. I really don't. It really pissed me off all the way through that game. It's like, my eyes are broken. What's happening?
I can imagine it'll happen a lot in first-person shooters, because, if you get hit in the head or if bullets go whizzing past, then... it might cause shock, something like that. Your vision might go blurry.
I suppose.
It makes perfect logical sense. I think the developers are absolutely on the right track with this one.
I hate this positive Tim. Tim, positive Tim, piss off.
No, he's got to do it all the way through this podcast for some reason, because he said he would.
Did I actually say that on air, or was that just during discussions?
I can't remember if it was. I think it was after we finished the last one, maybe.
Huh.
I don't really remember. It might have been on air. I'm not sure. Is that all the news? That's all the news I've really got written down here.
That's all the news I can be arsed to talk about.
Yeah, pretty much. I will quickly mention that Kentucky Route Zero Act 3 has been released today to no particular fanfare, but people have been waiting a long time for that one, and it is out now. So
yeah, everybody seems to have a really high opinion of that, which is weird, if only because you aside, I don't think I actually know anyone who's played it, but everyone who has played it seems to go on about it a lot.
It's really good. It's really good.
Did I buy it for myself at some point? Is it in my Steam list? I'll have to check later.
I thought you already owned it. You bought it for me and didn't own it yourself. That's quite strange. It's written by people who've read some books and stuff, which is unusual for video games. So,
well, I'd imagine that lots of the people who work on video games have read books, even if they are only books on like how to code in C++.
Well, yeah, obviously
I
those
don't
are quite
use
useful.
C++ anymore. I feel like I'm dating myself by referencing that particular language.
It's all Unity now, Tim. And Unreal Engine 4, obviously. Good old blurry Unreal Engine 4. I don't know what games people have played this week. I know what I've played. Tim, have you played something that you're going to be really positive about?
Well, I played Dark Souls 2. It's pretty much impossible for me to be anything other than
No, we've no more Dark Souls. I can't take it.
What? I can't take this. Is that what you're saying, Paul?
Dark Souls everywhere.
Visions of
Oddly
despair.
enough, yeah, his reaction is fairly similar to a lot of the messages that I see in Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, it is. It is. Am I the only person who's played something this week?
No, I'll just say I was back on Heroes of the Storm, and I just want to say, right?
Oh, excellent.
I've leveled up enough, and I've been playing in versus mode, and my team won one game out of about 9, right?
Come on.
Eventually. Now I have an issue with people playing Heroes of the Storm. Each map has a bloody objective. If you don't do the objectives, apart from blowing up the main palace or whatever the hell they call it, you ain't gonna win. So stop trying to run down the lanes.
This is a problem with a lot of multiplayer games, though, isn't it, Paul? I did quite well in Titanfall in the capture the points mode just by actually capturing the points.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody else was bothering to do that.
Why fight the little grunty thing, little sword dudes running down the middle of the lanes when you can go and be collecting chests and coins to unleash the mighty beast that's going to go and screw up their base, and then you win the game? Oh, tearing my hair out, man.
You understand why MOBA players are all so angry and frustrated now, Paul?
Yeah,
I think this is.
Yeah, I'm turning into an even angrier person this week because of this game, and I'm enjoying it, but at the same time, I just want to punch myself in the face because I don't know why I keep going back to it. And
Heroes of the Storm, I wanted to punch myself in the face.
yeah, well, I don't know. But anyway, I've decided that I'm pretty useless with some of the characters. Nova, who stays cloaked, she obviously comes uncloaked when she starts firing. I'm shit with her. Really, really useless. So I'm sticking with Diablo, man. Diablo's the man. He's the bollocks. Gets in there, does his little fiery things and stuff. So I'm going to stick with him until I've got this totally sussed out. But yeah, please, people, please do the objectives, and then you can have cannons firing at their base. You can curse their towers, which gives their little grunt guys 1 hit point. You can just take them down 1 hit.
Well, I want to ask you a question, but it's a question that I realise may be difficult to answer. Now, I haven't played Heroes of the Storm yet. Still, looking at you, Blizzard. I'd love a key. Thanks, guys.
There was a bit of discussion underneath the podcast about getting you a key. So people seemed keen.
Yeah, it hasn't happened. Not that I know of, anyway.
Working on it, Tim. We're working on it.
When you say you've been playing Diablo, are the different heroes kind of divided up into roles? Like in most MMOs, you've kind of got supports and junglers and initiators, gankers, and so on.
Yeah,
is is Diablo someone you can legitimately have in every game, or if your other teammates pick different heroes, are you going to have to go, well, I can't really take him then?
Well, you see, at the moment in the versus mode with the matchmaking system, basically you just choose your character. I'm assuming the matchmaking system's being sensible and putting in other support roles that will help, a good balance. Can't really tell that because everyone is just running around like headless chicken still, but yeah, I mean, all the characters are sorted by class, whether it's support, stealth, warrior, or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just getting sick of little guys. I don't know who the little dick is with the spinning sword thing that goes. That really pisses me off because my health bar just goes like that.
Sounds like it's Juggernaut from Dota 2.
Well, yeah. Whoever, I don't care. Whoever you are, stop playing him.
Is it a WoW person, maybe?
Well, Blizzard have put out a thing today, actually. They've been asking the community to suggest new hero additions. So hopefully we'll see some of those taken up. But
I want the Lost Vikings put in.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I mean, there's one of the units, because I don't play StarCraft because I don't really not that keen on it. But one of them is a StarCraft unit, which is like a little tank. And
that seems unfair.
Yeah, it's
having a tank.
It's kind of just a weird mix. It's a weird mix of stuff going on. You got like StarCraft characters running around with Diablo characters, but then all the settings are basically Warcraft. So the whole maps are like Warcraft sort of scenarios. That actually something I'm not that keen on. Is everything looks like bloody Warcraft 3.
I'm sure they'll add in other maps for StarCraft and stuff like that before too long.
Yeah, I'm sure they will too. I mean, it's still very early days. I mean, it is alpha, but actually, despite the fact that it makes me want to punch myself in the face, I'm quite enjoying it. So I'm going to keep leveling up and see how I go. But I unlocked the daily missions and stuff, so I've got all that stuff now. Which is basically task you to either play 2 games as a support class or whatever, and that changes every day. But it's quite fun. I'm enjoying it so far.
I remember Hearthstone doing something fairly similar with its daily missions, actually, where it was sort of like win 2 games with a hunter deck and stuff like that. It's a good way of convincing people to keep playing and trying different things.
Oh, it doesn't convince me to keep playing. I just want to go and smash people up. Forget the missions, don't care.
The default state for a MOBA player is enjoying the game but wanting to punch himself in the face, I think. So you're probably at the right in the right zone for that game, I think.
I think as I level up and start playing with people who kind of know what they're doing, I'm not saying that I know what I'm doing, because I'm certainly far from an expert at this, but there's just so...
You seem to have grasped what objectives you need to complete.
Yeah, just slightly. It just makes sense.
I don't know. I wonder about that. If only, not disparaging you at all in this, Paul, but I do kind of wonder if those objectives are things that kind of the balance of the game depends on what you should be going for, whether you should be sitting in your lanes or fighting over the objectives or what.
Probably. But...
Well, like...
It just reminds me of something like bloody... Roshan from Dota, where it's something on the map that gives a massive advantage to one side, and there are some games when nobody goes near him just because it's so easy to screw up horribly by making a failed attempt.
Okay, I'll just give you an example. One of the maps, basically you have to either kill the mobs, the camps, the mobs in the camp, and they drop gold coins. You then take the coins and you give them to Blackbeard. There's 2 counters at the top, 1 for each team. When it hits 12 coins, he then goes in his ghost ship, and then the ghost ship starts bombarding all their defences. So surely it's better to do that than try and battle it out with heroes one-on-one in the lanes. So and the other one is basically you have to go down into the sort of the subterranean level, kill lots of little beasties, and then when you've killed there's a counter that goes up, and then when they're all done, the number of those things are then unleashed on each other's base.
Right.
So it kind of said, if you don't do that and they're doing it, basically you have all this stuff marching on you and you have nothing to, defend against with. It's just do them. Just bloody do the objectives. There you go. I've had enough. I'm not talking about it anymore. I'm quitting. That's it. No more MOBAs. MOBAs are done. I hate them.
Wow.
MOBAs are done.
Done. That's it.
Yep.
Forget it. I don't care if they make lots of money. I'm not playing.
MOBAs are over, man. MOBAs are over. Well, I've been playing another very healthy genre, the 4X strategy genre. They've been making not quite as much money as, as the MOBA genre. Hey, wake up, this is a good game. This is Endless Legend, which is kind of the follow-up to Endless Space, which was pretty good, actually, as 4X space games go. Tim, hello?
I was just going to add that in the hopes of intriguing Paul, this is the same universe as Dungeon of the Endless, which I know he's played.
Yeah, it is. It has some weird tangential lore connections to both Endless Space and Dungeon of the Endless. I'm not totally sure how. This one is... it's kind of billed as a fantasy 4X, but it's kind of futurist fantasy because the dudes I was playing, the Volters, who are also in Endless Space, one of the DLCs, I think, kind of, yes, they fight with mini crossbows, but very quickly they can build kind of robot knights called Titans, so they're pretty technologically advanced. Although this kind of does speak to how slightly contrived 4X games are, because even though all of the civilizations that you can play are pretty advanced, they all have to figure out how to build sewer systems. So even though they're advanced civilizations, they are still pooing in the streets to begin with until you teach them how to make sewers, which seems a little bit silly, possibly, but anyway, that makes your cities happier, obviously, because there aren't feces running down the streets. It is very... Well, it would be very familiar if anyone's played Endless Space, because rather than colonizing planets, you're putting down cities in regions, and those cities in 4X style gather resources, and they're basically gathering similar resources to the ones they did in Endless Space, so dust, which is the currency in the game, and like production units so that you can build more buildings and pump out units, food, which helps the cities expand, and science points, which goes towards your tech tree, which then of course will let you build more buildings, will let you create better troops, and everything is nicely intertwining in that 4X way. It's early access at the moment. I have written a preview about it, which you can read on IncGamers.com. At the moment, you can pretty much only win through conquest. The diplomacy stuff isn't really in. Whenever you meet an AI, they're basically like, hey, let's have a war. So pretty much, you can set up a little campaign and you're going to be fighting, basically. There isn't going to be much trading of technology or anything like that, which is a bit of a gap, obviously, and we'll have to see how they fill that in, because how the AI deals with stuff like trading and peace treaties and stuff is pretty important in 4X games, and it's right now isn't really there. They can handle a war pretty well. But yeah, I was impressed by what I played. I mean, Amplitude basically seem to be specialists at designing user interfaces that make sense and that are easy to figure out. So even though it's a relatively complex civilization-esque game, it's not that tricky to go, oh, well, here's my technology panel. Here's stuff I can research. Here's my sort of army panel. I can edit my units in here and stuff. It's nice and easy to find your way around. Pretty straightforward in terms of what factors relate to other things, and yeah, looks very stylized and quite pretty. I'll mention the combat quickly, because some people didn't like the Endless Space combat, which was a bit kind of abstracted and hands-off. You weren't doing kind of fully in-depth tactical moves with individual ships. You're sort of giving overall orders.
It was a bit rock, paper, scissors, wasn't it, from what I can remember?
Yeah, you would kind of choose a battle stance and like which weapons to fire and stuff, and then depending on what the enemy chose, there would be some sort of outcome. Here, it's also pretty hands-off and abstracted. Your guys line up on the hex grid, and you can kind of deploy them and give them orders for whether they should be like offensive or defensive or standing their ground, and which enemy units to vaguely aim for. And then that's kind of it. They just go for it for a couple of turns, and then it goes, oh, do you want to like change any of these sort of overall commands? So it's sort of like it's kind of like you're giving them orders back from the home city or something. You're not right there on the battlefield. And yeah, it's pretty hands-off, and I guess some people won't like that if they prefer the sort of Age of Wonders style turn-based combat. But I think it works fine here. I mean, basically you're rewarded for having better units, and the way to get better units is if your overall strategy for your empire has been a clever one, and you know, your cities are producing the resources necessary for you to research the tech to get the units to win the fights. So that seems pretty reasonable to me. You won't get many situations where it's like, oh, I've got my 2 plucky units against these 4. Well, no, you're just going to lose. But you know, that seems okay to me.
I kind of like the idea of just giving general orders. I mean, I do like the turn-based tactical stuff that's in things like Elemental, Age of Wonders,
Yeah.
so on and so forth, but I don't mind the idea of having a 4X game where I'm just issuing more general orders than full specific details and so on. I mean, Civilization, that's still more in-depth than what Civilization ever did, really.
Yeah, where you just kind of...
It's just more a case of click on a hex and the fight happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can... There was a bit of terrain stuff that I found, like I was being attacked in one of my cities at one point, and if I told one of my units to stay in the sort of city hex, they seemed to get like a defensive bonus from that. So there is a little bit of terrain stuff as well involved, it seems, which is quite good. Yeah, there's this stuff that people kind of feel like always... This happens more with Space 4Xs, because they look at Master of Orion 2 and they're like, oh, it's got to have all that stuff that Master of Orion 2 had, and if it's missing one of those features, it's like not a proper 4X game, and if you changed your approach, it's not. And it's like, look, for this genre to go anywhere, people have to try different things and experiment a bit.
You say this, but I would kill for someone to just remake Master of Orion 2. I mean, I don't mean, re-release Master of Orion 2 HD with all sorts of tweaks and fixes. I mean, take the exact same game, buggy and broken as some bits of it are, and just completely re-release the entire thing. Just do that. Make Master of Orion 2 again. I mean, there are so many stories I can tell about Master of Orion 2, and with 4X games, I tend to find that that's a mark of some degree of quality. If you have the ability to talk about stuff that you did and actually tell a story of that. I mean, one time I created a custom race and basically bumped up espionage and diplomacy. And so what I did was make friends with absolutely everyone else in the galaxy while stealing their technology, sabotaging their facilities, and eventually starting this huge galactic war involving everybody except for me. And then when sort of there were only like 2 or 3 survivors left and they were all depleted from the war, I just sent out my massive fleet of warships made from the stolen technology that I'd nicked and conquered the universe. And, you know, that's something, unless you specifically set out to do that, you won't have seen something like that in Master of Orion 2. You can play it sort of expansionist, you can colonize everything, or you can sit there and research really advanced stuff, or you can go for the straight-on combat, or whatever. There's loads of different ways to play it, and that's what's so good about it.
Yeah, that's kind of the key to how Endless Legend is going to develop, because right now military is your only option, so it's up to them to prove that they can code sufficiently interesting diplomatic options in there as well that will function correctly, so that you can connive your way to victory too.
What's in there? What you've seen so far is good and positive, and you're happy with it. There's obviously a lot of stuff that's missing, and that's kind of going to dictate it. What if they did just release it as it is now, as a pure Terry thing?
It would be okay, but obviously lacking, I guess, in replayability to some extent. And also, I mean, right now a lot of the tech tree stuff you don't want to be bothering researching. The stuff that's helping you with diplomacy is a waste of time, obviously, because it's not really not going to do anything for you. But yeah, it's solid enough as a sort of war game at the moment. But yeah, it clearly needs the other parts for it to be a fully fledged 4X.
It's missing several X's still.
It is missing.
So what is it? 1X?
It's possibly just a triple X game at the moment.
It's Yeah, those sexy spider centaur people that are in there. They're great. It's a 2.5x game, maybe, right now. But looking quite
I
positive.
look forward to the point where it finally becomes triple X on the way to
Me too.
full-fledged 4X.
I like their approach to the. I've talked quite well about this, but very quickly, I like their approach to factions as well. They're unique. They're not just like, hey, here's some orcs. You remember orcs from every fucking game ever. Play as the orcs again. No, I don't want to. Make something good up, and these guys do. They make up interesting, novel factions. So good for them. Okay. That, I think, is probably going to wrap up the IncGamers podcast. What is coming up on the site? We have a Bound by Flame review coming up, which is an RPG from Spiders Studios, who I think made Of Orcs and Men and Mars Warlogs. They have kind of a mixed record, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with this one.
They are throwing themselves on the mercy of the court with a development studio name like that, aren't they? Just calling themselves Spiders Studio.
Well, you're not reviewing it, so it's okay.
This is true. Is that under embargo? Because the game's out this week, isn't it? So I guess
it's embargoed until Friday. We think.
Okay. I'll double check that, but I think it's the 9th.
Yeah. We'll run the review whenever the embargo is. We never break embargoes. We'd never do that intentionally. What else? Well, yeah, Endless Legend preview is up. Tim, you and I had a bit of a discussion about whether Dark Souls or Dark Souls 2 was the better game, and didn't necessarily decide on anything, but talked about it at length anyway.
Yeah, well, I think that we largely agreed that Dark Souls is the better game, but Dark Souls 2 is the more functional game, and they're both brilliant anyway. I just wanted to check the poll for that, actually, because we do have a poll at the bottom of that.
Yeah, do that.
I want to see...
Got an interview, I think, coming up.
Yeah, I've got an interview with Indonesian developer Digital Happiness, I think they're called, on their upcoming horror game Dread Out, and that will probably be running either today when the podcast is up or Thursday, just depending on what happens.
Dread Out, I know that name.
And also...
That's a creepy survival horror thing, isn't it?
No, it's
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it's like a horror adventure type thing, but it's set it's set in Indonesian setting, so it's not your usual kind of walk around a sort of western town.
Sounds good.
For the record, I'm still not playing it because it doesn't look any good. Rather, because from what I've seen, it actually does look quite good, and that's exactly why I don't want to go anywhere near it.
Yeah, I must admit, actually running just through the demo, it kind of creeps me out a little bit, because when you go through this sort of like an Indonesian kampung, which is a village, they are very narrow streets and it's all kind of a bit rickety and so on, and I'm just like walking down that in pitch black, was just kind of like, yeah, shit, what's around this corner? Like turning out, was the one bit where I came to a door and the door is obviously locked, it's not doing anything. There's a massive hole in the wall on the right hand side, and I didn't even notice it was there. I was so intent on going like that with the door, going, why is it not opening? I was going, oh right, yeah, go through the hole in the wall, right, okay, yeah.
Watch out for closets, Paul. Watch out for those.
I don't want to get trapped in the wardrobe again.
No wardrobes.
So how is the poll going, Tim? Have you checked?
Right now it is probably, well, Dark Souls is in the lead with 48%, Dark Souls 2 has 34%, and Demon Souls has 17%. I admit I was actually expecting Demon Souls to be in the lead by some margin, which was perhaps a bit pessimistic of me, but there you go. It does actually seem like there's a fairly even split between Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, which seems about right, really.
Yeah, there's definitely things to be said for each of those games.
Indeed.
So there we go. That's what's coming.
We'll have a Warside interview at some point as well, which is a multiplayer side-on shootery thing, which actually looks quite good. I did the usual thing of sending off about 10 billion questions and asking the poor guy to expand on any points as much as he could. Right. And there's actually some fairly interesting stuff in there, so I would recommend checking that out. Obviously, I would say that even if there wasn't, but you can trust me. I'm being good this week.
Yes, indeed. Well, there you go. All of that stuff coming up on the side.
Oh, just quickly as well, before we go, there is a new set of forums up. We retired the old ones finally. do pop in, say hello. There's an introduce yourself thread. Just come and chat. There's various forums for different things. And so that's that. Yes, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter as per usual if you want to get fed stuff.
If you want to get fed stuff?
Yep.
Wow, that's weird. Is that Tim's grapes that you're talking about?
No, I don't want to see Tim's grapes.
Hey.
Oh,
And on that note, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.